Oh, hey there. Today is Valentine's Day, and for most people who have a significant other, today is a very fun day. They get to enjoy themselves, have a blast, be romantic, all the fun stuff. But for many of you, like myself, the single weebs out there, we rely on other means to make ourselves happy on this very lonesome day. Of course, I am talking about romance manga, and if you don't read romance manga or slice of life, romantic comedy, etc., then I have got some great options for you to choose from on today's wonderful day of Valentine's Day. So no, we will not be reading anything today, don't worry. There isn't going to be like some in-depth review. We'll talk a little bit about all these series. I do realize that most of them are pretty mainstream, and most of them, actually all but one of them, have an anime adaptation. So if you want to watch it instead of reading it, that's also an option for you. But without further ado, let's get into talking about this. This is my top 10 recommended manga. Okay, let me restart that. This is my top 10 romance manga that I recommend that you read this year for your Valentine's Day excursion of 2022. So it's actually going to be 11 books, but I wanted to put 10 books in the title, so that's why I've said it a few times. But there is going to be a bonus book, and I hope you like it. So, yeah. Our first choice is the quintessential quintuplets. So I actually just picked up volume 1 of this yesterday of the time of recording this. I saw it at my local Walmart, and I decided it was finally time to start picking up the book. Now, I actually have read this. I read the scans of it online. I've read the entire story. I've also watched the anime, and I will say it's very wholesome. It's kind of okay, it's not kind of. It is in the realm of the harem genre. There is a harem, but it's a little bit different than your normal harem story. It's not a story about the main character going on a journey and then picking up a harem of girls. It is a story about a main character who doesn't have a lot of money and is tasked with being a tutor since he's the smartest person in school to these 5 quintuplet sisters whose father is very rich, and they all go to the same high school. So this story starts with Futaro meeting the quintuplets in high school, and then you find out that at the end of the story he marries one of them. So the whole story is this big kind of walk through the backstory of how they got married, which one of the quintuplets that Futaro ends up with, who he ends up falling in love with. And it's a story about each one of the sisters getting to see the good sides of Futaro and falling for him very slowly. I'm not going to say which one exactly he marries, because I don't want to spoil the whole story for you, because I want you to go read it. But it's super wholesome. It's a fun little look into the harem genre. I'm usually not a harem fan, but I find this one to be really enjoyable because it's laid out a bit differently than the normal harem is. It feels more like a love quintuplet story than a harem story, but maybe that's going a little bit too far. I definitely recommend this to you if you haven't read it. Go watch the anime. They're supposed to be dropping a movie that's supposed to end the whole series, which I've been really excited about as well. I definitely recommend it. I think the manga has concluded in the English translation, so I say give it a shot. Our next series on this list is Rent a Girlfriend. So I wanted to add this to the list mostly because it's one of the only ones I have that isn't set in high school. It doesn't have a high school theme. They're not in high school, they're actually in college, making friends. Now, this is a pretty hot topic manga. Now, I'm caught up to it. I read it weekly, and I will say the most recent arc for me has been a little bit of a letdown. I'm not going to spoil anything that happens because it is a pretty hyped up anime as well. A lot of people are super excited about season 2, I guess. So I don't want to give away any details about the story. But it has a lot of ups and downs. Overall, I think that it is worth a read, though. It's funny, it's enjoyable, and like I said originally, it's not set in high school. So the story is set around Kazuya, who you can see here on the back. His girlfriend at the time, Mommy, breaks up with him. He's super sad about it. So he goes online and he decides, oh, I'm going to get a rental girlfriend. So he gets a rental girlfriend. Her name is Chizuru. They go out on a date. He's really happy about it. He goes back on the website. He's feeling good. And he sees that all of the things that she did for him, she does for other people, which is pretty obvious because she is a rental girlfriend, not a real girlfriend. Kazuya, feeling bad about this, he basically hires her again and then berates her in front of everyone, even though she's only doing her job. When he gets a call saying that his grandma's in the hospital, so he says, I'm done, I'm leaving, I'm gonna go see my grandma, make sure she's okay. And different events happen. They end up going to the hospital together because he still has time left. He introduces her as his girlfriend because he doesn't know what to say. He's a little bit confused as to why she even showed up with him. And it ends up being that Kazuya's grandma and Chizuru's grandma are friends, so they have to do this big long misunderstanding game of, oh, they're dating. So it's very fun. It's a back and forth story. The middle arc, which is called the movie arc, is so good. I'd say give this one a shot if you enjoy the stories that are a little bit more back and forth, that don't have a clear ending. You're not really sure what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen, if that makes any sense to you. This one's a lot of fun. It's kind of slow. It's back and forth. There's some things I don't like, but if you are looking for something that's not set in high school, that has the slice of life romance vibes, I definitely say go with Rent a Girlfriend. Number 9 that we're going to be talking about is Kaguya-sama Love is War. Now, this series is almost completely different from Rent a Girlfriend. It's about Shirogane, the president of the student council of their school, as well as the wonderful Kaguya, beautiful Shinomiya. They're basically battling each other to see who can confess first. They think that they both like each other. They're not really sure what's going to happen. Obviously, this is a super popular anime as well. It's got a greenlit for season 3. So if you haven't watched the anime yet, then I don't know what you're doing, because you're missing out on a whole lot. It's funny. It's got a narrator. It's more of like good fun to see when they're going to confess to each other. By the time they do end up confessing and things move on with the story, you know, because obviously that's the main gist of the story, that eventually they're going to confess to each other, right? The story gets really deep and heavy later on in the manga, or in the story. A lot of crazy things happen. The story moves very fast and it gets really good. I'm super excited for season 3 of this. There's not a whole lot I can say about the manga, because I've only read the first couple volumes, besides for the stuff past the anime. I know the manga starts out pretty slow, that the anime skipped a bunch of stuff that happens because it's decently kind of boring. I mean, the first volume of manga is like the first episode of the show, I think, in terms of details. So if you're looking for something fun and lighthearted to pick up that is easy to read and also gets really good towards the end of the story, give this one a shot. Also, if you don't want to read it, give the anime a shot too, because it's also really fun. That's really all I got to say about Kaguya-sama, but I do think that you should give it a chance. So this next one on the list is probably one of my favorite manga I've read as of recently. It's also just got an anime adaptation, and that is My Dress Up Darling. Now, at first, I actually didn't think I was going to like this story. We've got Marin and Gojo are the two main characters, the characters that we see the most, and basically it's a story about Gojo making Marin cosplay because she's not good at making clothes, and Gojo is really good at making clothes. Now, Gojo is a Hina doll maker. If you're not watching the anime, basically they're like these little dolls where you paint the face and make the clothes. People come and buy them for ornaments and sets and things of that nature. When Gojo was younger, he was made fun of for wanting to do that, so he's been very closed off, and he's been afraid to tell people about his true nature, up until Marin, who saw him making clothes for the doll using the sewing machine in school, got really excited, and then they end up making clothes together, or I should say they end up making cosplay together, and this budding relationship grows between the two characters in the manga. Now, this story is pretty slow, not in terms of the pacing. It goes pretty quick, and a lot of stuff happens within the first book itself in terms of the romance portion of the story. But personally, I think that this is a super fun read. It comes out, it's a bi-weekly series, it's still ongoing. There hasn't been like a confession or anything yet in the manga, obviously. It's still just pretty new. In terms of this in the anime, if you're looking for something with a little bit more details and a little bit more fun, a little bit more fluff, this is gonna be for you. It's not as, I guess you could say, it's not as bad as the anime in terms of some of the fan service, if you know what I'm talking about. But it's still got it in there if that's something that you like. But I will say, out of all the ones on this list, this is the one with the most explicit content, if that's what you want to call it. It's definitely not that bad, at least I don't think it is, but it's one of my favorite relationships. I like Mari and Gojo together a lot. They're fun. It's exciting. It's cool to see like a story without a whole lot of jealousy and a whole not a lot of like dread about confessing feelings and stuff. It's super fun. I like it a lot, and if you haven't thought about giving it a chance, they're reprinting a lot of these volumes. They're easy to find right now out in the wild, so if you want to give it a shot, I would say do it. So the next manga that we're going to talk about doesn't have an anime adaptation, and that would be The Golden Sheep. This story is really fun. So it revolves around, I think her last name is, let's read the back. Suga Mikura. She moved away back whenever they were in elementary school. I think it's either elementary school or middle school. And then whenever in high school, after I think her father passes away or something of that nature. I haven't read this in a while, so the story is kind of in the back of my mind. Something happens and they have to move back home in with her grandma, I think. I think her father passes away. But she's kind of on edge and excited to see her old friends, Sora, Yushin, and Asari. But this story isn't the like fun, exciting, comedic. No, this is a very deep and tragic story about running away from home, suicide, bullying, and falling in love with someone despite those things. So this one hits a little bit harder. There are a lot of dark tendencies, especially in this first book. The ending of the first book. There's only 3 volumes in this story, but the ending of the first book hits you like a freight train whenever you finally see what's happening. I definitely recommend this for someone who's looking for a romance that's not super lighthearted like My Dress Up Darling or Toradora or some of the other ones that we're going to be talking about on this list, but The Golden Sheep is definitely worth it. The art style is great. The art is amazing. It's super easy to get into. There's only 3 books. I found most of them at Barnes & Noble out in the wild, but they're also available online. And the book itself, the art and it's beautiful. I love it. It looks great on my shelf. It's awesome. I say give it a shot if you're looking for something more deep and less romantic comedy-esque and more romantic drama. But it is what it is. I like it. This one also is set during high school, but it's not necessarily in high school, and you'll see why once you read it a little bit. So I say give it a shot. It's like I said, it's the only one that I could tell without an anime. At least I don't think it has an anime. If it has an anime, I've never seen it. So if it does, correct me in the comment section, and we'll move on to the next one. We are moving fast and furiously because we're moving up to the next spot, which is Toradora. I think this is number 6, on the list. I actually have only read Volume 1. I own Volume 1 and 2. Toradora is very hard to find in the wild, let me tell you. It's also not easy to find online either for decent prices. So whenever I do see it, I try and pick it up. I've only found 2 volumes, though, 1 and 2. So it's not like it's been an easy task for me to find this. And the funny part is it's not even out of print. So I'm sure most of you guys probably know what Toradora is. All things considered, it's one of the most hyped up romantic comedy series ever. It's on Netflix, it's on Funimation, it's on Crunchyroll. The dub is everywhere. It's got good voice actors. It's a super exciting show for most people who like romantic comedy for good reason. So this story revolves around the 2 main characters here on the front cover. There's Ryuji and Taiga. They end up finding out that they like each other's best friends, and they decide we're gonna help each other try and get with the other person. And because of this, they end up getting really close, and then they end up falling in love, and there's a whole lot of drama. But for the most part, it's pretty lighthearted, and it's a fun romantic comedy series. It doesn't take itself too seriously most of the time, and there's a lot of plot in the manga that's not in the anime. So if you've watched the anime and you've been thinking about picking up the manga or the light novel, I definitely say you should, because it's fun. It's a good one. It literally says on the back that it's a must-have manga, and I agree. It's a must-have manga. If you like Toradora or you like any of the other series, if you've read any of the other ones that I've talked about right in this video, then you should probably check Toradora out if you haven't, because it's one of the ones that everyone has basically heard of. And I would say, honestly, if you're curious about the show or you're curious about this story, and you don't want to have to worry about trying to pick up this crazy hard to find manga or the light novel that I haven't really found either, I would honestly say to you, just go watch the anime. Most people have Netflix. It's available on Netflix. It's definitely worth the watch. It'll give you the nice romantic feelings towards the end of it, and you really enjoy it. I love this series. It is one of my favorites in terms of anime. In terms of manga, like I said, I haven't really read that much of it yet, just this first volume, since I just picked up volume 2 not too long ago. But I am really enjoying this, and I think that you would too. So give Toradora a shot if you haven't yet. I'm sure most of you have, though. The next one we're going to be talking about is Komi Can't Communicate, another pretty popular manga that actually just got an anime adaptation on YouTube. So if you want to digest portion of the story, you can always do so through anime. But with that being said, I'm actually caught up with this one as well, like I am with Rent a Girlfriend and Kaguya-sama and a few others on the most recent scans online. And I will say that I love this story. It starts out with Komi and Tadano, our two main characters. Tadano is our main character, but it follows a lot of Komi, so it's kind of back and forth. It follows the beginning of the story. Everyone sees Komi as this goddess, but in reality she just has a communication disorder, so she can't really speak to people. She has a really hard time talking. She's really nervous and shy, and Tadano's really the only person to realize her true feelings and how she is in person. Not that she's some ice queen that looks down on everyone, but that she wants to talk to people. She just has a tough time. And when this, Tadano ends up becoming Komi's first real friend ever. And it's this story about Tadano helping Komi make friends, and their friend group grows larger, and they end up going on like all these fun dates and all this stuff. And I will say, in terms of all the other stories on this list, the romance in this kind of takes a back seat until like halfway through the series. So it does take a little while for the romance to really start to bubble. You can see it's there. It's got its tendencies. It's got its like little things that it does moving up and down. Obviously, like you can even see in volume 1 and some of like the little stories that you can see that Tadano kind of likes Komi, and Komi's kind of feeling some type of way towards Tadano, but it doesn't really take off for a while. But with that being said, I still think it's worth the read. It's a super funny comedic one. Like I said, if you like Toradora, or you're a fan of like My Dress Up Darling, or anything that's got comedic value in it, you should definitely give Komi a try, because it's gonna make you laugh. It spans like all their years of high school. It's super fun. All the characters are enjoyable, and like I said, there's also the anime on Netflix. So if you're afraid to pick up the books because you don't want to fill your shelf with something you might not like, maybe watch the anime first. If you like it, definitely pick up the book, because there's so much more details in here than in the manga or in the anime, and I think you would enjoy it a lot. So that's Komi Can't Communicate. The next one I'll be talking about today is A Silent Voice. This one is a bit different than all of the others on the list, besides maybe the Golden Sheep. It's sad. It deals with depression and social anxiety and suicide and many things that are triggering. And it doesn't have an anime, but it does have an anime movie that is one of my, if not my favorite anime movie ever. Now, I haven't read the manga yet. I read a portion of this first volume, and then I decided that, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to read the whole thing at once. I have the first 5 volumes. There's 2 more in this series, and then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read all of A Silent Voice from beginning to end. I do want to do a video explaining what I think is good about the manga versus the movie, and after I read the manga, I want to talk about my initial thoughts and all that stuff. And I don't want to spoil too much of the main story, but we have the main characters. There's Shoko here, and this is Shota. Shoko is deaf, and Shota at the beginning of the story is basically bullies her for being deaf, and there are a lot of things that happen. I don't want to. This is one that I really don't want to talk about the story, because I don't want to pull any of the details. The relationship building is beautiful. The characters are awesome. I love watching I love watching Shota just get better as a human being and learn how to make friends with everyone. It's so fun. And if you're looking for something that is very down to earth and will make you cry, but in a very meaningful and good way, and will teach you lessons, and very good lessons, I say go watch the Silent Voice movie on Netflix. It's totally worth your time. it's honestly one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my life, and you're probably, not even you probably, but you won't regret watching it. I promise. This is a great one. This is a fantastic, heartwarming story about two people who are kind of broken coming together and realizing their love for each other finally. And I think that this is totally worth your time if you're looking for something that's not a romantic comedy, but has some comedic elements to it as the story progresses. So that's The Silent Voice. I think you should at least go watch the movie, give it a little bit of your time, and we'll move back on the funny series because I think we deserve it. So we're in the final three. These three have been like my favorite series overall. Two of them are because of the manga. One of them is because of just the story itself being great. The first one, number 3, is Masamune-kun's Revenge. So Masamune-kun's Revenge is a story that is a lot different than the other ones on the list. And the reason for that is because our main character, Masamune, or this guy right here, he's actually really popular. He is a good-looking dude, he is confident in himself, he's really popular, and he wants it to be that way. So when Masamune was a kid, he was pretty fat. He didn't have any friends. He basically found himself to be kind of disgusting looking, and he didn't know what to do with himself. He was bullied all the time. This girl on the front cover, Aki, the main girl of the story, befriended him and really enjoyed her time with him. And one day, he brought her flowers, and she basically came to the window, called him a piggy. There's no way that they would ever be together. And then that sparks Masamune to go out of his way to get skinny and to lose weight and then come back and get revenge on on Aki for treating him like garbage. Now, I will say, collecting the physical volumes of this manga is not going to be easy because I think the only ones that are currently in print are like 1 and then 9 through 11 or 8 through 11. I've been having a tough time finding some of the other volumes. I only own 1 through 3, so I would say if you want to read this, definitely read the scanlations online. It's way easier. There's only like 50 chapters. But this is the one manga that I read that made me happy, that made me mad, that made me happy, that made me mad. But by the ending, I was super satisfied with how the story progressed and how it worked. This one also has an anime. I recommend watching it, but it only goes through about half of the story, so you're gonna have to read the manga anyways if you want to finish it. But this one's super fun. It's a story about revenge. Masamune-kun getting hot and attractive and coming back and trying to launch his revenge plan on Aki and them eventually actually falling in love with each other. And it's a very fun and enjoyable one. It's a quick story. If you want to sit down and read all 50 chapters, it doesn't take that long to do. I would say if you're interested in collecting this one, I would start right now today. Go out of your way, buy some of the volumes, buy 1, 2, and 3, maybe even 4. Some of them are getting pretty expensive, so don't waste any time. Number 2 on this list, we're almost at the end, is my youth romantic comedy, As Wrong as I Expected, the comic, or Snafu, or Origaru. So this story is about Hikigaya, Yukino Yukonoshita, and then Yui Yuigahama, as well as their sensei and a few other characters and a bunch of people, but the main 3 is Yui, Yukino, and Hikigaya. This story revolves around Hikigaya, a cynical dude who doesn't have any friends, who thinks youth is a lie and is a waste of time, being forced by his professor at school or his teacher to join the service club with Yukino, so that he can make friends and bloom into a young, fun gentleman. And it's a story about Hikigaya and Yukino and Yui making genuine connections with people and having a good time and realizing how good youth can actually be, and that things don't always seem as they expected. This story here is one of my favorites of all time. I've read a couple of the light novels, I own a couple of volumes of manga, but I've watched the anime like 7 times. It's great, it's got amazing characters, I love Hikigaya, our main character. He's such an awesome person to watch grow. It's a super fun story. It doesn't take itself too seriously until you get closer to the end of it. The beginning of it is a lot of fluffy fun like Toradora and stories like it. So if you're looking for something that has the elements of Toradora, the super fun stuff, as well as the more deep dramatic relationship portions of something on this list that I don't know, maybe looking at A Silent Voice whenever they get together and stuff, I don't know. If you're looking for something with a little best of both worlds, Origaru is going to be for you. It's kind of expensive. These yen press books are like $13, and there's not a whole lot to them. They're pretty thin books. Yeah, I haven't actually read the whole volume. The whole manga. I looked for it online, but these scans don't exist anywhere. There's like a different manga online. I don't know. It's weird, and I can't tell if someone's like redrawing it or what's happening, but I would say if you do like Origami, if you watch the anime, then pick up the manga. I'm kind of in the midst of doing both. I'm trying to get the light novel and the manga. This one's really fun. The ending was very satisfying to me, as long as I pretend that the Shin novels don't exist. And this is what I'm going to be reading for many, many years. Probably once a year, I'll probably pick it up and I'll give it a read or give it a watch through, because the story is just too good. And with that, we have made it to our final choice, or my final choice, I should say, Horimiya. So, I guess a lot of people probably could have seen this coming. It literally won the Crunchyroll Romance Anime of the Year, and I love the anime. It's how I found this story. And after reading the manga, which I read all online, I have a few of these volumes that I've been collecting, but the manga fleshes out every single detail that the anime does with, like, super importance. Like, anything that's tiny that happened in the anime has like a whole chapter dedicated to it in the manga. And there are events and things that happen that aren't even touched upon in the anime at all. Like, later on in the manga, there's like a sports festival arc that isn't even in the anime, and I think that it's super missing. The anime could have been 2 seasons. It could have fleshed out all the little things that happens in the manga that just, don't happen in the anime. But if you're looking for a super fluffy and enjoyable relationship between the 2 main characters who get together very fast, and you get to see them go through their issues, and a lot of the tropes are done by the side characters, and you get to see this super fun and crazy enjoyable relationship flourish between Hori and Miyamura. Basically, it starts out with Hori and Miyamura being in the same class but never talking to each other. They talk about each other from here and there, but Miyamura doesn't really have any friends. He's seen as this like lonely, lonesome otaku type guy who doesn't speak to anyone. And one random day, Hori's little brother gets scared by a dog and falls down, so Miyamura helps him and brings him home, and he's invited in for something to drink and a snack. And he's talking to Hori, and they realize, or I guess it's Hori realizes that is Miyamura, this random person who's got these piercings and the super nice face and all these tattoos is Miyamura, which is crazy to her because his vision in school with the glasses and the thick coat is not the person that she saw the day that saved her brother. And this sparks this like relationship where Miyamura goes over to Hori's house to hang out with her little brother Shota, and it's a really nice story. It's hard to, I don't want to give away all the details because I don't want it to spoil any of the fluff, but if you're going to read anything this Valentine's Day, you're looking for something to fill your heart with joy and excitement and fun, Horimiya is going to be the one for you. It's going to be the manga that's going to give you the most fun and enjoyment if you're looking for something that has a relationship that isn't boring. So yeah, I definitely think my number one recommendation for this year, if you have not picked it up and read it yet, is definitely going to be Horimiya. And those are my top 10, or should I say 11, recommendations for romance manga for 2022 on Valentine's Day. Now, I will say most of them are pretty cliche. You probably saw most of them coming, but honestly, since this is my first like top 10 video for manga, had to like break them out sometime, right? I had to get them out of the way eventually. I have a lot more romance manga upstairs on my shelf that I have yet to even read or touch that I want to do first impressions of, but I do always like some recommendations in the comment section. So based on the manga you've seen on this list here, what do you think I would like reading? What do you think that I might enjoy? I can let you know if I have it on my shelf and just haven't read it yet. I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy your Valentine's Day, though. I hope that this helps you maybe find a few series maybe that you haven't heard of, or get a second opinion or anything of that nature. I do plan on doing a review of basically every single one of these series on the channel eventually, as romantic comedy manga or slice of life stories are kind of falling into like my favorites category as of late. But with that being said, I don't want to keep you any longer. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your Valentine's Day, and probably be back here on Friday for another video. I'm going to try and do Monday Fridays, maybe. Haven't decided yet, but we'll see. I'm going to try my best, and I guess I'll see you later.